Hello, welcome to Bedford Station. This is Train Sim Classic, and we're going to undertake a run down to the south coast today, down to Brighton. So before we do anything else, let's set the train up. It's a bit dark in here, so...
TPWS and AWS operational.
Now what we're going to do today is take the full run down to Brighton, but we're going to do it in Train Sim Classic as far as East Croydon, and then from East Croydon we're going to take it in Train Sim World just for the superior graphics and the overall feel to it. But that is the good thing, of course. You can't get the full run on Train Sim World, but at least you can do a little bit of a mix and match, and hopefully we'll have a nice run down to the south coast. And I've set it in the winter, so this is a Alan Thompson simulation scenario download, but I thought we'd give it a bit of a Christmas feel to it, recording this in between that period between Christmas and the New Year. Just have to be a bit careful on the speed limit. It's 30 miles an hour before we get to 75. So we'll be calling today at Flitwick, Harlington, Leagrave, Luton, Luton Airport Parkway, Harpenden, St Albans, West Hampstead, Thameslink, St Pancras International, Farringdon, London Blackfriars, London Bridge, East Croydon, Gatwick Airport, Three Bridges, Balcombe, Haywards Heath, Wivelsfield, Burgess Hill, Hassocks, Preston Park and Brighton, and the arrival time is scheduled to be 09:43. So it's about a 2.5 hour ride. And of course we'll be riding in AC mode for the first part of the journey down the Midland Main Line. And then we'll go under the tunnels and change to DC power at Farringdon, and then emerge back out into the open again at Blackfriars. See, we've got a slight drop in the speed limit down to 40 in a moment. basically. We're on the up slow line at the moment to Flitwick and onwards. And I'll get into all the Train Sim World stuff when we get to East Croydon, but the good news is we'll be able to do it as a full 12-car formation. And the Class 700 is also being integrated into the London commuter line. There's a mod available where you can do that, so it should be quite a nice run. I mean, you talk about it having a Christmassy feel about it with the snow, but I don't think in my lifetime I'd ever remember snow at Christmas. It's usually wet and windy, as it certainly is this year. And when we read out the station list, it's certainly a long list of stations, but it also has plenty of fast running as well. That's a sight you don't see any longer. It's HST. It's one of the ex LNER ones as well. Back up to 90 after the speed restriction for the tunnel. Seems to be a few speed drops through the tunnels. I've no idea why. That's the more regular unit that you still see now on the Middle and Main line. Trying to show off what a good driver I am, and I think I've more or less put that into emergency brakes. Here we are, our first stop at Flitwick. Reality is, of course, we're running a 12-car train. And we've only got an 8-car platform marker. I think you'll see if you look at the back. Yep, there's no room. Of course, in reality, the platforms have been upgraded now to accommodate 12-car trains. Now, I think there is a upgrade for this line planned that somebody's been well working on, and it'll include things like the 12-car extensions. We were pretty much on time into Flitwick, so quite a long wait. I guess in reality this would be quite a busy service. Harlington the next stop. So a bit of a shorter gap this time, just less than 3 miles. think I've only got something like the first version of the weather pack. I certainly haven't got version 2, and I haven't got the cloud pack from Armstrong Powerhouse, but I think it still looks okay. Planning on getting the new vegetation pack for the 3D trees quite soon, although I don't think it'd make any difference on this route actually. Don't think the Midland Main Line's one of the upgraded routes as part of the pack for some reason. I've seen one or two videos where we've seen drivers driving, real train drivers driving Train Simulator, Dad Rail in particular, but it's fascinating when you hear the actual proper stopping points that you can look out for visually. Without having those, it's impossible. You're just guessing really. We'll take it to the end of the platform, but again we're a 12-car unit.
Driver, you have reset the DRA. Please check the signal.
Didn't actually mean to put the DRA on there because we do have a green signal. Right, I've forgotten to actually set them. There we go. Got the right destination marker on there now. I mean, they've been around a little while now, these 700s, but there's still that nice feeling of being able to ride an up-to-date train that's not long relatively been in service. Looking forward to being able to drive the London Overground route that's coming out some point in the new year from Dovetail Games, with the Barking to Gospel Oak, and of course we've got a brand new station there that was only opened in earlier this year, I think, or was it last year? Given the choice, I'd have preferred to have been able to do the full North London line, but still be a decent ride. whole plethora of Thameslink services. I think that all the AI on here is pretty accurate for the run. Not sure there's a massive amount of wheel slip on, particularly on Train Sim Classic, so probably in reality the driver would be a bit more worried driving the snow about the surface and stopping in time. We might have more issues on that when we do the run in Train Sim World from East Croydon onwards. And here we are at Leegrave. Very nicely modelled. Quite like the inside as well. You can see all the appropriate messages, not interactive. And certainly after sort of Luton Airport Parkway, we're a bit more spaced out in terms of the stops there. There are many more stops on the all stations runs. I think we're pretty much at all stopper as far as Luton Airport Parkway. Luton the next stop. have to try and avoid pressing the save button every time. I mean, although it's an old game, I think the lighting still looks pretty decent. You get that early morning glow. We might more comfortably fit into Luton Station. Nope, still wouldn't accommodate the back of the train. Could have gone a bit further up the platform, I suppose. We got a little bit of wheel slip there. Again, it wouldn't be perhaps right to put full power in as you're departing the station, certainly not in snowy conditions. I know there was a bit of talk with the people doing the upgrade to this middle and main line, which looked pretty nice, that we saw a few months back showcase about the catenary not being completely accurate all the way, but it's not bad. It's pretty representative of the middle and main line. My only slight criticism at the moment is in and around Luton Airport Parkway, where you've got some new style catenary, which there are plenty of examples. It wouldn't really take more than probably a couple of hours to just fix. This is Luton Airport Parkway, and I've certainly done the run a few times, come down on the M1 and then take the fast train into London from here. Love the passengers to be more accurate in this game, and you could see a station absolutely full of passengers for what is essentially a rush hour service. multi-storey building there. I think you can get a shuttle service then out to Luton Airport itself. Yeah, so we're Harpington the next stop, so that's only less than 5 miles away. Did shut the doors, didn't I? Yet another northbound Thameslink service. In the not too distant future, I'd like to showcase another run on this Midland Main Line, which is a representation of the Project Rio trains from St Pancras to Manchester Piccadilly in a HST. Of course, that was the thing whilst the West Coast Main Line was being upgraded. It was like an additional service. And seeing as though we can't do a full London Euston to Manchester Piccadilly run, it's a nice one to do through the Hope Valley as well. So the flashing signals suggest we have a change in our routing. We've got a junction coming up, so I think we'll be routed onto the up fast. You can kind of ignore the first flashing double yellow. Flashing single yellow, and then it'll be more normal signals after that. But we should get the arrow which will route us across. And I think that the routing will take place after Harpington, again, if you're regular on this route, you'll know this much better than me. Done it again. Bought myself a new keyboard. I can't see the function keys properly. And again. Right, St Albans City is our next station stop. Of course, there's 2 stations in St Albans. No connection by railway, though. You'd have to get a taxi ride across from St Albans City to St Albans Abbey, and then you could go on the short line to Watford Junction. We're now entering the up fast line, and as a general rule of thumb, if you're heading away from London, regardless of whether you're north or south, it tends to be the down line, and into London tends to be the up line, which has kind of been in railway terminology since the 1800s. Of course, all these sort of services have to be slotted into the timetable. So now we're on the fast lines. We wouldn't want to be holding up the trains that don't stop at these intermediate stations. Just reminding myself where we're going to on this first part on this Alan Thompson sim scenario. And we are going as far as London Bridge, so we will have to change to DC at Farringdon. It's always a little test of what to do. Dug out the Armstrong Powerhouse manual to remind me, because I've completely forgotten. It's got a while since I've driven this train. Yeah, there's a unit stabled there in the holding sidings. There are trains that only run as far as St Albans. Probably more of a peak time running thing, I would have thought. There's also Luton to Orpington, Sutton maybe as well. Quite a few possibilities when you go through the tunnels as to your ultimate destination. Quite a variety of Thameslink services. There you go, that's a St Albans to Surrey service which will leave at 8:07. I find it quite amazing actually, these scenario writers, the time and effort put into add in all the real world trains. And even when you've done it, you've still got to make sure everything runs properly, and it might involve half a dozen runs and some very, very good scenario creators on the Alan Thompson site. And we literally are on a fast running section now, so having assumed the fast line, we're going to pass through quite a number of stations on the way through to West Hampstead Thameslink, which is just literally before we start going through the tunnels. I think on Train Sim World we've got this screen lit up as well. See that a bit later on in the run. But essentially it's using the same model. Got all the flue markings on here, which tells us that this is a full length unit. When we come to the Train Sim World variant, of course, that'll still have the RLU, even though we will be a 12 car unit. It's just a mod that's been done. Perhaps somebody will get round that problem at some point in the future. Some clever folks out there. I mean, it's an old game, and some of the assets get on your nerves a bit because they are recurring here, there and everywhere, but still got a good look about it though. You have to remind yourself how old this game is. Watching a trailer yesterday for, I think it's the new Microsoft Flight Simulator, and you can certainly see the difference. People there look absolutely real. Drivers will be very familiar with this section of the route. We've entered the section where we're alongside the M1 motorway. Okay, just keeping an eye on the mileage readings. We're only about 4 miles away. To West Hampstead Thames Link. big yard at Cricklewood. Nice to see sub-units stabled. Of course, with this game you have to be careful about overloading it with static trains, but it's worked out all right there. Just adds to the overall scene. Another of those junction signals. Trying to make sure that hit the platforms at roughly about 30 mile an hour. Again, I suspect in reality the driver would be fairly cautious in snowy conditions. And the reason for the diverge, of course, is we're going to take the lower level platforms at St Pancras. Well, it's St Pancras Thameslink. If we were to stay on this line that we're on now, it would take us into St Pancras International. Where you could take the train into Paris, as well as the East Midlands services. Now, in reality, on this section, I'm not sure exactly where it would kick in, but this is a automatic train operation section, ATO, so the driver would press the button for the ATO and then the train would effectively drive itself. All he'd have to do is to open and close the doors. Would still have to change the power from AC to DC though at Farringdon. As far as I know, I don't think it's clever enough to do that itself. I think the ATO bit's just a bit beyond Kentish Town, because at the moment you could still gain access to St Pancras International Station from here. I think the ATO bit would come with this tunnel section where we, or a little bit beyond the next tunnel section after Kentish Town Station. I think this is all down to Danny, who works for Dovetail Games, who put together the merged route on Steam Workshop so that you could do this section coming up, and great that you can. I think he did it all in his free time as well, so kudos very much to him. And you can see now we're diving down now. We're going to go into the lower underground section. Should keep an eye on that speed. Train really does lurch away when you're going downhill. There is no cruise control on this thing. And here we are at St Pancras Thameslink. Done it again. Trying to press the F3 button every time I do that. And just in case you think that they're cheating and that there's no St Pancras station up above, then there it is. And of course, needless to say, They've not bothered to put any trains into this scenario for that. It isn't necessary. And of course, nice to see as well, there's King's Cross next door to it. So this is the last section now of the overhead lines, the AC lines. So after, well, at Farringdon, we've got to change over to DC mode, which will continue all the way to Brighton. Of course, at Farringdon, you can change for the Metropolitan line trains as well, which is up above us, the Met line platforms on the left. But that's when we get there. This actually is the old King's Cross Thameslink station. But they've got a more accessible one now that we stopped at St Pancras. I was confusing myself for a minute. I was thinking that was Farringdon. Again, just shows it's quite a while since I've driven this route. Bit easy with the gradients as well now. It's pretty flat through here. In fact, it's dead level. Must be quite strange for the drivers if they're not used to ATO. Of course, anybody that's using it will be used to it, but must be odd at first when you first try it with the training and people in support, but watching the train drive itself. Yeah, this is Farringdon. You can see the Met line platforms up above us on the left. We've got one or two Met line services that have been done. There's one or two I've got installed on the game from Alan Thompson where you have actually got a 700 coming through when you stop at Farringdon. Okay, so first of all, the stop. So, let's read the manual then. Ensure the reverser is in neutral. Okay, move the power supply switch to off. I think that means that. Move the power mode switch to DC. Now, what does it say? Move the power mode switch. That's the power mode switch. Yep, to DC. It will start flashing, it says. On the and then power. Wait a minute, I've done this. I have done it wrong. Right, it's supposed to put the power supply to off first. Okay, and then you move that to DC. Right, I hope that's worked.
Driver, you have reset the DRA. Please check the signal.
So we should now have lowered the pantograph and we should be into DC mode. We'll soon know if we've not worked, because once the overhead lines run out, power would be lost. We're now coming into London Blackfriars Station. Or at least we will be shortly. I love how nicely this station's been modelled. Real amount of detail. And there's also a stopping train. There's terminus platforms here as well for trains down to Sevenoaks.
Driver, you have reset the DRA. Please check the signal.
And there you have it. That's a screenshot in its own right, isn't it? With St Paul's in the background with the Thames. Very nice. And as we route ourselves through the heart of London, really, through various viaducts, it's a fascinating run, this, between here and East Croydon. You got London Bridge Station coming up, and of course it would be nice if we got a modern version of London Bridge in the game. We don't at the moment, or at least we don't on this route. There is a route, I think it's the Sutton Mole Valley lines, which is available again on Alan Thompson, where they have got a modern version of London Bridge model, but this is the old version. You can never completely stay up to date in this game. There's always things happening on the railway. And again, I'd like in the not too distant future to do a run from Charing Cross through to Hastings. A lot of these buildings are a little bit generic on this section. Never seen that glitch before. Don't think that building's supposed to be overhanging the line. Yeah, there's another one. That's strange. Very strange. So we're routed into platform 5 at London Bridge. The old London Bridge station will be familiar to viewers from a few years back, really. There's a very tight overbridge that you used to have here. Rush hour time was packed. Nowadays there's a huge concourse underneath the station. And we do have a 12-car marker here at London Bridge. Really busy scene at London Bridge Station. It is one of those places that is a delight to have represented in Train Sim. Just this myriad of lines, and I've always found the train system in and around London really fascinating. And that's perhaps more as a casual visitor. I'm sure if you're travelling on it day to day and you're commuting, that it must have its frustrations, but just to see the sheer amount of trains in and around, particularly rush hour, is a sight to behold. We've just got a mixture of southeastern and southern, as well as these Thameslink services as well. So there's only less than 10 miles to go to East Croydon. Or a suspicion that this might be a dodgy signal. It's one of the slight issues with this merged route. Very well done, but there is the odd problematic signal. We'll find out in a minute. Let's just try and tab it. Yeah, I think we're okay, yeah. Distinctive sight of the incinerator coming into view. And Millwall's football ground as well is on our right, and again it's a custom model of it, so I'm sure very familiar to fans of Millwall. The new den. And even the pitch is covered in snow as well. Of course, the vast majority of the buildings that you see are slightly generic ones, but give a reasonable representation. There's such an array of buildings in the asset libraries from all the various developers nowadays, but you could spend hours and hours and hours just trying to find one building sometimes. As we come through New Cross Gate, we're taking a divert. Of course, London Overground trains very prevalent in the area. Of course, when the line from Bedford was first electrified in the early 1980s, it was originally only to London St Pancras, and they used the new Class 317s, and they operated on, they called them the bedpan units because it was a Bedford to St Pancras service only. And then the idea of having a through route down to Brighton with the original King's Cross St Pancras Thameslink, I think it was called. Or was it City Thameslink? Something like that. Because now there is a much better station which is really close to the main St Pancras station as well. As we observed, you can just travel straight up to it. Apologies for the cursor sometimes. I forget that it's in the middle of the screen. It can be a bit irritating. Of course, if you play this part 2 of the scenario from Alan Thompson simulation, I think it's 9T13 is the run from Bedford to Brighton, and you can do it on Train Sim Classic all the way to Brighton, but I just fancied the idea of transferring it to Train Sim World at East Croydon, just simply because we have the ability to do the remainder of the run on Train Sim World now. There we go. That one's Dalston Junction to West Croydon. We've got bits of the East London line already done. You can do the whole of the East London line back in the London Underground days to the old Shoreham station, but the current Shoreham high level station hasn't been done yet. I think that's a fascinating stretch of railway as well. Selhurst Depot on the right. Really busy interchange station, East Croydon. And we're going to shortly join the line from London Victoria through Clapham Junction, which takes us through and then onwards on the Brighton main line. If you can hear a dog barking in the background, it's my Westie. Here we are coming into West Croydon. Three, 4 and 6 marker there, 8 and 10, and then right at the end of the platform the 12 car marker. So we'll see how different it looks when we load up Train Sim World in a second. Doors open, so let's move on to Train Sim World. And that looks quite a sight, doesn't it, with the snow gathered on the front. I think some of the effects on Train Sim World are absolutely marvellous. See from the back, and you see the sun rising as well. This sound mod was for free as well from the Train Sim community website. Just adds a little bit more depth, and I love the sounds of the track joints. It's varied as well. It varies over different points, and that's something you don't get in Train Sim Classic. If ever there was a product I'd love to see from Armstrong Powerhouse, it would be a track joint enhancement pack, because I think it's quite neglected in the game generally, and it's such an important feeling on the train. You hear the sounds clattering over the points. This mod to bring in the Class 700 on the Brighton main line, I think, was from another mod site, this time the Czech Republic one that somebody's created, and it's filled in a nice gap. I was kind of waiting for that to come out before I did this run. I know you could substitute in the 700. But to have it properly on the timetable makes it really effective. We've also got the full length unit as well, which again wasn't something that came out with the DLC from Dovetail Games. I mean, to be fair, they have said to just put the extra carriages in isn't strictly speaking accurate, but it'll do for me. Stop is now Gatwick Airport. Using a HUD that's been fairly recently introduced into the game, so we haven't got that big screen in the bottom right hand corner. It's all on the top level. You can still see what speed we're doing, as well as you can see it on the speedometer quite clearly as well. You can modify it quite a bit as you choose. One thing I'd love to see on Train Sim World, it would be a little bit of a random timetable in terms of perhaps other trains in the service running late, and you could perhaps have it on a percentage basis and randomise it. I have no idea how difficult or not that would be to achieve. It would mean then that every run would be slightly different. The only way you could vary it really at the moment is to start out late yourself, and that has an effect on your pathing and everything else. Notice we still say RLU down there. Again, maybe we'll get a mod from somebody who will put it in so as it'll say FLU. Well, if you position the camera like that, you can't see it most of the time anyway. Really could be a Christmas card look, couldn't it? This route is fully optimised since Train Sim World 4 came out, but still one of the best routes that's been created. Just thousands of trains on the timetable overall. I did hope it was going to be the start of something great with some of these add-ons, but I think in a way it frightened them a little bit, and clearly it was a problem with the older consoles. They haven't quite done anything like this since. So that changes a bit in 2024. It'd be lovely to see the West Coast Main Line come into Train Sim World at some point. The first sight of a plane coming to land at Gatwick Airport. We did have a mod where it was reliveried into EasyJet colours. I'm not sure if that mod still works on Train Sim World 4. There's a Gatwick Express service on our right. The older livery the front, and then the newer livery, and then the older livery at the back. Again, I think that's some sort of mod I downloaded absolutely ages ago. It wouldn't do that with the camera, the way it just jumps and lurches a little bit sometimes. And the only weird thing here is I think basically everybody gets off at Gatwick Airport. The next stop is Three Bridges. You see that Southern 377 was held at the signal clearly, waiting for a path into Gatwick Airport Station. mean, on this section there's plenty of stops, but there's also plenty of room for high-speed running as well. And again, those mods, I mean, you can get rid of them quite easily in all honesty, but I mean, there I've got a northern liveried one. Oh dear. Okay, well, most of the trains in the platform. I think in reality we'd be keeping the doors open in the first carriage, and this would be considered quite a major error, really. Right, let's make sure when we get to Balcombe, Balcombe or Balcombe, that we get the braking right next time around. I mean, the brakes are really good on this unit as well, so there's no excuses. when they built the original timetable for this route, they did allow a gap for the Thameslink services. They didn't substitute it in with anything else. And they've held back officially, I say they, Dovetail Games, and adding it to the route, but the community has sorted it out. Only on PC though. If you feel as though the sun's getting too bright for you, you can actually pull the blind down, but I don't think it boats you too much. We just got a Gatwick Express train which passed us by. And of course, originally, they were pretty much only London Victoria to Gatwick Airport, but there's now plenty of services that do the full run. I think essentially they're still pretty much non-stop from Victoria to Gatwick Airport. And that concept of there being a regular, I think it was every 15 minutes that they introduced in the early 80s, and we had Class 73s and Mark II carriages and the DVT. I think they called it the DBSO, and it was the one off the Glasgow-Edinburgh line originally, I think, that they used. Haywards Heath, the next stop. Look at that view. I love the 24-hour timetable on the game as well. The fact that you can pick any time of the day that you want. And sometimes it's quite good fun to get to the end station, in this case Brighton, and just sit there for a bit and watch trains coming in and go out again. So much potential this game has. What a sight that is. We'll try and keep up the content on the YouTube channel and put up plenty of air show clips as well. Many years of archive stuff that I've recorded over the years. Was the 8-car marker. And the 10. We don't have a 12-car marker, but kind of assume it's at the end of the platform. So we're obviously a little bit early into the station, so we've got just about a minute to go before we depart. Wish they'd get the passengers sorted out properly though, Dovetail Games. I mean, they called this one of the rush hour routes when it came out, but they've never seemed to be completely in control of them. Wivelsfield, the next stop. And if you watch cab view rides of this route, you'll know that randomly, the other side of Haywards Heath Station, there is a wagon in the corner. Now, it's not that particular wagon. I think it's been there for years, but at least they've put something in. Those little pieces of detail that's very good to see. Just adds to the immersion. Just coming into Wivelsfield. I think the branch to Eastbourne is just a little bit beyond us. Beyond Wivelsfield station. Of course, we can take the line out of Brighton to Eastbourne via Lewis. But there are southbound trains from Victoria that go to Eastbourne, and they take this more direct route. At least we've got some passengers boarding here. Not sure about the chap with the suitcase. Perhaps he's going to Eastbourne. He's waiting for the Eastbourne train, we'll say.
This is a safety announcement. Due to today's inclement weather, please take extra care whilst on the station.
No, we haven't quite finished. I closed the doors a bit too prematurely there. You can see that. Or did we? No, I think we're all right. No, I think that marker there is telling us that's the fact that we're not too far away from Burgess Hill. Confused me for a minute, that. Yeah, I mean, you look at the timetable there, we're absolutely perfect at Wivelsfield. But there's only a short gap now to Burgess Hill, 0.7 of a mile. There's the branch after Eastbourne. The Burgess Hill station, literally the other side of this bridge, so we won't power up too much. One nice touch about Train Sim World with the passengers now is they wear appropriate clothing. So because it's winter, you can see all long coats, whereas in Train Sim Classic you do a scenario in the winter and you'd still see passengers wearing t-shirts and summer wear. Hassocks next. And we're even stopping at Preston Park today, which is just outside Brighton. I mean, the sounds as supplied by Dovetail Games were alright, but this is taking it to a whole new level. And there's some great sound mods available on the Trade Sim community website. The Bakerloo line is just a completely different experience with the 1972 stock with the sound mod.
This is a safety announcement. Due to today's inclement weather, please take extra care whilst on the station. Surfaces may be slippery.
Never a true word said. We are on the home stretch now, Preston Park and then Brighton. You're going to get a really good view of the tunnel. Very ornate, this tunnel. I should remember what it's called. Know this area massively well, but very pretty in the South Downs. And Brighton, as has been the case for, well, ever since the railway was built, really an attraction for people from London because it's only an hour or so's ride. Just as popular now as it was in the Victorian era. Gradual depreciation in speed into Brighton. course, on Trainsim World, we've got this route, London Victoria to Brighton. We've got the East Coastway route, Brighton to Seaford. Sometimes you just get carried away. You're just enjoying the scenery so much. That'll do. We're all right. But what I was really just trying to talk about, and I was thinking about, was the new West Coastway route for Trainsim Classic that's now available. And still not fully complete yet, but there is line side scenery all the way from Brighton to West Worthing, so it's a nice little run. Again, a little gap that's been filled. There aren't that many stations now and routes that haven't been done, or at least there's a significant proportion that has been done. And as it's a terminus platform at Brighton, we better make sure we get it right. In theory it's 75 mile an hour, but you can see we're not too far off getting down to 40, so kind of think might as well keep it at 40, or a little bit above is okay, because till we go through that next signal, the 40 mile an hour marker isn't quite there yet. The question is, are we going to be directly routed into the platform, or are we going to get any sort of delay getting into Brighton? We're going to be arriving into platform 6, and certainly this isn't the last signal before the platform, but we've got a board above it, number 6, so yes, in fact it might well be the last signal. So yeah, we are signalled straight in. This is Lovers Walk Depot on the right. Magnificent station, Brighton. Now, of course, in reality, the Class 313s are no longer in use on the East Coastway, but they went out of service. Was it earlier this year, or was it last year? Here we are. You'd expect there'd be droves getting up, wouldn't you, in reality? Well, I hope very much you've enjoyed this full run from Brighton to Bedford. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you possibly can. It will be very much appreciated. But from now, or for now, we'll say goodbye from Train Sim World. Hope you've enjoyed it. Bye for now.